Did I use AI to help me make my plan? Yeah, of course I did. And I just want to explore out loud a little bit how I'm thinking about AI and yeah, I guess just some thoughts on it. So, I mean, I think of, ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini as something to use as like an employee and like a thesaurus. So, if I used a thesaurus and just picked random words for anything I wanted to change, my writing would sound ridiculous. And I think it's similar with AI, where I will write something and just, ask for some refinement or, expand on my ideas. Um, I'll give structure. Like, for example, when I did a project analyzing a contract, I wanted to go section by section and go through, okay, what is the, definition of this section of the contract? What is the purpose of this section of the contract? What should the actual contract language be? What's the operational reality that's associated with the contract? What are the internal controls that, protect that portion of the contract? And then what are, failure edge cases? Like if we did not adhere to these controls, something got mixed up in that, what could we be looking at as far as like a potential lawsuit or something goes. Um, and so that's how I I used it, where it's like, yes, I went, section by section and asked, how would I define this section? Um, yeah, I mean, asked all the questions that I need to for each of those. But if I'm not there reviewing everything and making sure it's the structure that I want and making sure that I like the language and that everything that I think needs to be covered in it is there, then it's just not really going to be any good. So I'll kind of think like for some things, like I really think you'd be foolish to not use the help of AI now. Um, or that it just like it might be a shame in certain contexts, you could have gotten help. Like, you know, for some things it's really easy to be like, I'm just going to do this, totally myself with work. I'm just thinking about how like it can be hard to delegate something to an employee. But I'm like, well, if you want to operate at a higher level, you better really learn how to do that because you'd be holding yourself back otherwise. But that said, it's like, well, but I want to be really careful about it because I will be like, well, but I still want them to be my words, it's mine. Like, I'm not, having somebody else's name on this. Um, so in that sense, I want to be careful about it. Or I mean, in lots of ways, I want to be careful about it. So yeah, I really just like cling to that thought of like, it's my employee, it's a thesaurus, like I have to have thorough review, like I don't want to lose my own voice and my own words, but I want to use this tool, to my advantage and to be as productive as I can. And of course, like I'm, a bit like scared too with everything that's changing with AI and how it's going to affect the job market and could this put me out of work or put me out of business. And I'll kind of think like, no, like you just gotta adjust, and I just feel like I keep seeing this like just absolute like defeatist attitude where people are like, oh, we're just going to lose all the jobs and I won't have any work anymore, and everybody's going to get so much dumber because they're not thinking themselves anymore. And I'll be like, this is just such a defeatist attitude. You say that and then you have nothing behind it to say, here's how I'm going to handle it. Um, which I mean, okay, you can't always have your solution right away, but it just always feels like the delivery that I hear from that, like, oh, it's just going to make us all dumber. And I'm like, that's your choice, you know? Like, I don't remember if that person who said that also said that, oh, when we changed to calculators instead of doing math manually, it made people dumber. I'm like, okay, I mean, maybe there's some statistics that, like, broadly there's some truth to that, but I'm like, that's still an individual decision, that that's something that can be known. And then to back it up, have a different solution, maybe you do like puzzles, or maybe you still do some manual math, or maybe you do, other things. Like, you don't just say, like, oh, now because I use calculators, I'm just gonna be dumber. Like, I think that's just silly. And I don't want to be afraid of it. I want to adapt. And, in so many ways, I really enjoy it, especially just like bouncing thoughts around. Here's how I'm thinking about this or that. Like, I'll just constantly be, talking into my phone, laying out all my thoughts, and then, expanding on whatever I hear back, or, keeping exploring them. But that said, I have found that, like, I guess especially for, personal things, I have to have like a limit, because there is definitely an opportunity there to just spiral. And so I have found that in that instance, I have to be careful, and I should, spend time going back to like my journal and, physically writing things, because I think, have the tendency to think like, oh, but I want to keep moving forward. I need more information. I need more information. I need more information. But I'm like, but you don't process it sometimes. You just keep going and keep going and keep going. And it does just surprise me so much sometimes when I spend real time in my journal, and then I connect different thoughts that I just didn't even realize. And it can feel like I'm not going anywhere, because you'll be sitting and looking at a sentence in my journal. I just feel like I'm going nowhere. And then all of a sudden things like really click, where I'm like, oh yeah, that's how I want to think about this. Or, it does really progress on me. So yeah, I just want to try to have the best attitude that I can about it. And I don't want to be too afraid. And yeah, I just want to think of, the positive aspects, but still make sure that I'm producing something that's still concretely my work. And I'm not saying that, like, AI could have done this from start to finish. And I'm like, no, like, my personality, my words, my structure, my thoughts are still in here, even though I had help, refining sentences, or I had help writing it. I'm like, yeah, I had an employee. And I'm like, my personality is still here. Like, it wouldn't, think about these things. And that way I'm like, I mean, isn't there an opportunity there for like authenticity? I mean, that's something that, you see so many like YouTube videos, or just ways that AI is being used just everywhere. And I'm like, that's an opportunity. Like, I think now, videos like this sometimes, where somebody is just straight up acting like they're hanging out with a friend, they're actually getting, some traction, because it's authentic and imperfect, and, showing up really as you are. So I don't know, like, I just want to think about the opportunity and be positive about it. But that said, like, man, this is a real